The Acolyte, Episode 6. Almost nothing happened, and I wish that was a joke. Last episode, things got mixed up. And talking about mixed up, editor, we're doing The Acolyte, remember? This is not a review of the YouTuber Snarky J's cosplay, and before anyone asks, no, I'm not doing that. In The Acolyte, one twin sister Osha ended up with the Sith Lord instead of the usual Jedi Master Sol, and the Sith Lord forgot he tried to cut her in half last episode and instead chose to heal her wounds, while Sol ended up on his ship with May, the other twin, who was giving up on the idea of revenge on the Jedi and was going to surrender to them. But now she's forgot about that again and is going to try and stab Sol instead. There are a few short scenes of the Jedi sending another task force to investigate the missing Jedi. So brace yourself for a good half of this episode being spent with Sol and May on a ship talking about their feelings, and the other half with the Sith Lord and Osha on an island on the planet of Unknown Planet talking about their feelings. And if you're just going to put up Unknown Planet, why bother putting up anything at all? And as well as the Sith Lord being very different from the character we saw only last episode, I know, inconsistent characters in The Acolyte, right? Imagine my shock. And the Sith Lord doing this also kind of removes any sense of menace from the character at all. It's all a bit too feminine. At times he looks seconds away from turning to Osha and saying, "I feel so alone, please hold me." It would be a bit like in the original films, if Darth Vader's meditation pod thing had opened up and he was sat in there knitting a woolly hat. Maybe hosting a book club or dancing to K-pop, having a slumber party in a nightie with some preteen girls and gossiping about the boys he likes. In some ways, I still maintain that for me, villains seem to be more important in writing a story than the heroes are. It's a thing I've often heard, that men are bad at writing women. And that may be true, but if this episode is anything to go by, women seem to be prodigiously awful at writing men. And also maybe action. They get a female writer on Star Wars and we've gone from space battles and sword fights to two people in a cave talking about their feelings, and oh no. Now the Fallout TV series has had some success, I just had a truly horrible thought. Can you imagine Hollywood trying to make a series out of the Doom games and having it written by a diverse woman? They'd have to get rid of all the ripping and tearing and instead have the Doomslayer with his shirt off, breaking down and sobbing and talking about his feelings and how much more than anything he just wanted the cyber demon to love him, because at this stage I have a sinking feeling that's what we'd get. The Acolyte, as well as story problems, continues to have problems with time and space as well. This is episode 6 and I have no idea how much time is supposed to have elapsed in this story. Sol and May got back to Sol's ship last episode and were desperately trying to get away from the Sith Lord that had just cut down 10 or so Jedi. We start this episode and the Sith Lord has left the planet Kofar off screen, gone to Unknown Planet, patched up Osha's wounds, she had a sleep, he cooked a stew, and Sol and May have not even taken off from Kofar yet. The Jedi Task Force should take days or weeks to travel from Coruscant to Kofar. It's halfway across the galaxy, and they get there seemingly in minutes. It's the same problem that the Rings of Power had. It feels like characters are just teleporting around. And where did all the money go? This episode is about half an hour long again, and almost nothing happens. Osha spends about 5 minutes getting dressed and walking down a beach. How did they spend $25 million on this? They filmed in a cave. Did they buy a real island to use as the set? Did Leslie Headland, the showrunner, just pay her wife $20 million an episode to be in this? I can barely even do spoilers because there isn't really any content in the episode to spoil. The series is only 8 episodes long, how can you not fill up 8 episodes? So Osha wakes up, gets dressed, sees some bird creatures that look like a cross between a porg and Cyril Sneer from the TV show The Raccoons, and then follows the Sith Lord and watches him as he takes a bath in a rock pool, and oh boy am I fed up with this. Just how many times? It's like The Witcher again, only not as bad. We get a show with a female showrunner and we end up with body positivity, and they're conscious to not show women undressed because it's supposedly exploitative. That's only for female characters though. The male actors all have to get their kit off for the older women making the show to look at. and the male characters all have to look like they live in a gym. The women, however, can look like they live on a couch eating Cheetos, though I suppose we did get the body positivity male Jedi, who some internet wag nicknamed Order 66 Big Macs. It's just like Disney. Put on a facade of being against discrimination, and then behind closed doors, if this report is true, they're discriminating against people on the basis of their skin colour on a daily basis.
Certainly, there have been times where, there's no way we're hiring a white male person.
Just kind of unspoken.
There are times when it's spoken, but
how would they say it?
No way we're hiring a white male person.
While he's taking a bath, Osha grabs the Sith Lord's lightsaber, and I have no idea how she thinks she even stands a chance in this fight, even with the lightsaber. This guy force pushed what? A dozen Jedi last episode. He could just rip it out of her hand. She stands no chance, and she logically should know that. Credit to Manny Jacinto though, he's got himself in very good shape for this series. He kind of deserves better than being in The Acolyte, to be frank, and he hasn't been alone in that. Carrie-Anne Moss can be quite a good actress. I liked her in Daredevil. In this, for what little time we got with her, she was about as animated as a sideboard, and it's the same with the actress Margarita Levieva, who played one of the twins' two moms in The Acolyte, the one with the horns, not this one.
In a very woman-centered world, which I was very excited to kind of be in that, because I feel like Star Wars is very like patriarchal, so it was kind of cool to have like this sort of woman-centered figure.
She was in The Blacklist, and she was quite good as a femme fatale. In this, they just got nothing from her. She's completely wooden. How do you even do that? Say, can we get another take, Margarita, but this time with less emotion? Just don't emote at all and stand there like a mannequin. Meanwhile, on the ship, May seems to be trying to stab Sol again, and I have absolutely no idea why. The Sith Lord seems to be trying to win over Osha to the dark side by letting her touch his helmet. He lets her put his lightsaber to his throat, which is a bold choice when you just tried to stab her with it last episode and abducted her. And the whole dark side thing seems to be working. He talks to her a little, then she gets one touch of his helmet and starts heavy breathing on it. And yes, that is an innuendo, sue me. I need to have some fun, and this episode is frankly barren. But she seems to be pathetically and unrealistically easy to turn. He did in two of her close friends last episode. She just kind of forgets about Jordan Yeki. We find out the Sith used to be a Jedi, and he just puts himself at her mercy for reasons. This doesn't make much sense. We can see scars on his back that look maybe like whip marks, so he may be the former student of the green Jedi lady with the silly lightsaber whip. He may also be an acolyte himself, maybe one of the twin girls' mother's acolyte, because like them, he's very good at force pushing, and he talks with similar rhetoric. The Jedi Task Force go to Kofar and find the bodies of the fallen Jedi, including Leslie Headland's real-life wife and this guy, who's playing a Jedi called Mog. A Jedi called Mog? Seriously?
Everything all right, Master?
What did they say?
Seems an Umbra moth colony hatched last night and wreaked havoc on a local settlement. If the Jedi had been anywhere near that colony, that could explain a large amount of casualties.
And this may come as a shock for you to learn, but this actor in real life is gay. I mean, you may not have noticed because he was being so subtle about it. It's like they cast Kenneth Williams for how camp this guy is. Okay, he's not quite Kenneth Williams or John Inman bad. I don't know how many of the cast of this thing are gay, because Amanda Stenberg is, so that's both May and Osha. I'm not sure if that counts as one or two. There's Leslie Headland's wife, there's Yord, Mog. I thought Abigail Thorne was supposed to be in this series somewhere, did I miss it? Was Abigail playing one of the Nemoidians in episode 1? With this kind of acting talent, this is how England got the reputation of all the men being gay. While it is true that England arguably has the best gays in the world, industrial strength gays if you will, and this in turn has given rise to the belief that there are no straight English men, and that the English just spring out of holes in the ground. Also, some of the women do have beards, so that was 35 minutes of my life I'll never get back, and how much did they move the story forward? At the start of the episode, Sol was on a ship with May and the rat beaver thing, and no, that's not an innuendo this time. At the end, Sol is still on the ship with May and the rat beaver thing, but he now knows it's her and not Osha. The Jedi went and found the battle site on Kofar, and the Green Lady now suspects the Sith may have a greater plot to destroy the Jedi, probably by making them look bad to the Senate, maybe by framing Sol for the deaths of the Jedi. And Osha is still on unknown planet with the Sith Lord, but she may have turned to the dark side and she put a hat on.
Of course!
A big juicy clam would sure go great with this heat.
Never rub another man's rhubarb.